Hello everyone, this is my second video on this subject of how I know for a fact that Karen Read is innocent. I stand by my first video 100%. But in this video I want to talk about something that no one's talking about because they did a Google search and they think that that covers it. Wrong. The Google search says, how long does it take to get his body temperature down to 80 degrees? And the Google search says, well, it's almost impossible to tell. That's false. There are so many different factors that you have to figure in, like the clothing he's wearing and things like that. But see, we know what he was wearing. We also know that he was supposedly laying on the ground. Now, thermodynamics is a science. It's very easy to understand. And when I was in the Marine Corps, I went through cold weather training, so I understand what it takes and what the body can and can't withstand as far as temperature goes. Also, if you take a look at, say, park rangers and stuff from the northern part of the United States, whenever someone goes missing in one of these parks during cold weather conditions, they have people who can automatically go, you have this window to find them in, or we're looking for a corpse. So understanding what the cold does to the body is actually a very, very common science. And I'm surprised that the defense hasn't jumped all over this and gotten some form of medical expert from, say, Alaska or Montana or one of the northern states to come in and testify as to what is the exact science on this, because what I'm going to tell you is bone-chilling when you consider certain facts of this case. Considering the clothing he was wearing and the fact that he was supposedly laying on the ground. Now, that's important because the ground is frozen, right? And because he's in contact with that frozen ground, you get what's called thermal transfer, right? So, for that reason, that's going to force his body temperature to drop even faster. Kind of like, your body temperature drops faster in water because the water's in direct contact with your skin. So, the fact that John's body was at 80 degrees and he still had very subtle vital signs, there's no way he was on the ground at 12:30 and still alive at 6. Best case scenario for John, and I'm talking like if he is an elite athlete, I'm talking like a Navy SEAL. Best case scenario, he lives 2.5 hours. That's dead in 2.5 hours. So if you took and put the same clothes on a Navy SEAL, incapacitated him, put him on the ground outside, the way that John O'Keefe was, he's dead in 2.5 hours. That means by 3 a.m., he's dead. That means that by 6 a.m., his body, now that there's no blood pumping at all, starts to reduce temperature rapidly. So by 6 a.m., they should have found a body that the outer layers of skin have started to freeze, the extremities are frozen solid, and he would have had snow accumulated on top of him. They didn't find that. They found a man that was still alive, whose body temperature was 80 degrees. Now, I said 2.5 hours. That's best case scenario for his death. And, if they would have gotten an expert on this, somebody who does like park rescues and stuff for lost hikers and things like that, who have to consider cold as a factor for survivability, they would have known this. For John O'Keefe himself, they're saying 2 hours, he's dead. And that's a healthy John O'Keefe, not a John O'Keefe that just had the shit kicked out of him by one of his cop buddies and the other people in that house. This tells me There's no way he was on the ground at 12:30. It's impossible. The science just isn't there. There's no possible way that he was on the ground at 12:30 and still alive at 6 a.m. No frostbite, no frozen extremities, no external tissue frozen. That is impossible. Impossible. There is no way that could happen. For that very reason, we take that 2-hour time frame and the fact that John was still alive at 6 o'clock, barely, but still alive, means John O'Keefe's body was placed outside no more than 2 hours before he was found. That means his body was placed outside after the 247 Google search of Hoslog to die in the cold. This was premeditated and virtually impossible for Karen Read to have done it. Thank you.